All right, mini absolute value practice. I call this mini because instead of us like practicing 50 different ones, we're going to practice just 6 that are basically the same approach. So here's what I'm going to do. I notice that I have an absolute value on one side and an absolute value on the other. So the absolute values are kind of already by themselves. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the left side alone. And I'm going to technically not do anything to the right side. This one's going to be my positive version. And then I'm going to do 2j plus 3 equals negative j. This is essentially my negative version, okay? I'm going to subtract 2j over here. Here, why don't I actually write that out so you can kind of just watch me do it. Minus 2j, minus 2j. Why did I do that? Because I want to get all the j's on one side. And so now I have 3 equals negative j. Okay, well then you know that that really means that j equals negative 3. Okay, so that's one of our possible answers, right? All right, let's try the other one. Same thing, I'm going to subtract 2j and I get 3 equals negative 3j. Divide both sides by negative 3 and I get j equals negative 1. Okay, let's plug those back in, see if they actually work. Because this is a little funky to us, right? To have an absolute value on both sides. So I'm going to be doing that up here. I'll do the blue one in blue. So we have the absolute value of 2 times negative 3 plus 3, close our absolute value, and that equals the absolute value of negative 3. Okay. So I'm simplifying the inside. This is negative 6 plus 3. And on the right side, if I simplify that, that's just 3, right? And I'm going to zoom in here so I can just kind of finish this off. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. And guess what? The absolute value of negative 3 equals 3. That's true. We're happy about that. So this is a good answer. Let's try the negative 1 now. So negative 1, 2 times negative 1 plus 3. Wrap that up in the absolute values, and on the right side equals the absolute value of negative 1. On the inside of the parentheses, we have negative 2 plus 3. Well, that's 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1. Does 1 equal 1? It sure does. So that is also a correct solution. Now, what I want to do is zoom out and write this exact same problem one more time. The absolute value of 2j plus 3 is equal to the absolute value of j. What would have happened if we had said, you know what? I'm going to leave the absolute value of j alone. I'm sorry. What if I said I'm going to do absolute value of j equals 2j plus 3, and this is my positive version because I'm just going to mess with that part. And then what if I said that I'm going to have j equals negative 2j plus 3, that's my negative version. Negative version. What if I did that? Well, so let's check it out. I'm going to subtract 2j here, just like I kind of did down there. So minus 2j, and I get negative j equals 3, and then we know that that's j equals negative 3. That's one possible answer. Right here, the difference mainly is that we have to distribute this negative, and we get j equals negative 2j minus 3. I'm going to add j, and I get, I'm going to add 2j, add 2j, add 2j, and I get 3j equals negative 3. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3 to get j equals negative 1. How does that sound? Does that sound good to you? Check it out. That's literally what we got down here. So that was kind of annoying of me to do this problem twice, but it kind of shows you that, hey, listen, once we've got our absolute values solved or simplified to where we can't really do anything else, it's okay to pick one side, call that the positive or the negative, and go from there. So if I were you, I would just determine, well, which side do you want to call the positive and the negative side? And you might even be wondering, well, wait, what about this guy? So if you're like, I get it for this, one of them's positive, one of them's negative, one of them's positive, one of them's negative. What about this? Check it out. We're going to have 4h minus 2 equals 2 parentheses, h plus 3. And we're going to have 4h minus 2 equals negative 2, h plus 3 in parentheses. Here's my positive. Here's my negative, right? So on the left side, yeah, I got to distribute this too. So I get 4h minus 2 equals 2h plus 6. I'm going to subtract 2h. I'm going to add 2. H is 4. That's one possible answer. And over here, I'm going to distribute the negative 2. I get 4h minus 2 equals negative 2h minus 6. I'm going to add 2h to get 6h. I'm going to add 2 to get negative 4. And you might be thinking, oh, that's no good. Divide by 6 to get negative 4/6, which is really negative 2/3. There's another possible answer. So let's plug these in, see if we get what we want. So 4 is the first one. Absolute value of 4 times 4 minus 2 equals 2 times the absolute value of 4 plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of this in my head just because I know you guys want to go, you're probably doing it in your head. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 2 is 14, and the absolute value of 14 is 14. 4 plus 3 is 7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Check it out. That one worked. Now this one, the blue one, is negative 2/3. All right, we can do it, even though it's a fraction. 4 times negative 2/3 minus 2 equals 2 times negative 2/3 plus 3. All right, maybe I'll do a little less of this in my head. I'll actually write it out. Negative 2/3 times 4 is negative 8/3, okay? And then 2 is, we can convert that to a fraction. 2 is really, we're doing thirds here, so that'd be 6/3. So negative 8 minus 6/3 is minus 14/3. And the absolute value of negative 14/3 is 14/3. Woo, that's the left side right there. And the right side is going to be, well, let's convert this now. Why don't I erase it instead of scratching it out? This is going to be 9/3, right? So negative 2/3 plus 9/3 is is 7/3. The absolute value of 7/3 is 7/3. 7/3 times 2 is 14/3. Check it out. They both worked. So again, this is an answer. This is an answer. Why did I take the time to do this one again? Because our absolute values are by themselves, except for that 2. So then the question you ask yourself is, what do you do with that 2? Should I divide it over here? Well, if you divide it over here, then tell me, what are you going to do next? You're going to multiply it by 2 to get it back over here, and then you're just going to go back and forth forever. So this really is about as simplified as it can get, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. If you need help, cool. If you don't need help, well then I will have done this for nothing. Anyway, so 3, and you know what? I'm dropping the F's, and I'm just going to do X's. So there's my positive version. Here's my negative version. I'm going to subtract 3x, divide by 6, and x is negative 1. I'm going to change colors. I'm going to subtract 3x and get negative 12x. I'm going to divide by negative 12 to get x equals 1/2. Also, I'm not going to check my solutions like I did on these others, just because they're right. I kind of mentioned in class that the only way for you to be 100% certain that you're right is to plug things in, and so that's what I was doing. And now I just distracted myself from not writing my absolute value signs. There's my positive version. Here's my negative version. And on this version, you know what? Just to keep it simple, I'm going to go ahead and just write it with the negative out front instead of automatically distributing it for myself. I'm going to subtract 2x to get negative x. I'm going to subtract 3 to get negative 5, and x is really 5. I'm going to distribute the negative, and I get negative 2x plus 2, because that's a negative negative. I'm going to add 2x. I'm going to subtract 3. X is really negative 1/3. This is the one where, hey, the left side and the right side, what are you going to do with that 3? Here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to just leave it alone and have this be my positive version. And I'm going to have this. That was not a 3, that was a 2. And have this be my negative version, okay? 3w minus 15 equals 2w plus 10. Might as well just keep on writing negative 2w minus 10, right? Because I'm distributing this negative. Also, it appears that I've not written my equal sign. Wasn't being very cautious there. Now I'm going to subtract 2w to get w. I'm going to add 15 to get 25. That's one of the answers. And then I'm going to add 2w. I'm going to add 5. And I get w is negative 1. If I went a little fast, it was just with my kind of distributing and subtracting and adding and things like that. Slow down and kind of watch what I did, or write out what I said if you'd like. Last one, 2y plus 5 equals 1/2 times 3y minus 3. That's the positive version. 2y plus 5 equals 3 halves y minus 3 halves. You know what? I'm going to be a little lazy here, and I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I should have done it here, but I didn't, just to get rid of the fraction. So I have 4y plus 10 equals 3y minus 3. That's nicer. I'm going to subtract 3y to get y. I'm going to subtract 10 to get negative 13. That's the positive answer. And now let's do the negative version. I'm just going to do it below. So 2y plus 5 equals negative 1/2 times 3y minus 3. And you know what? I said up here I should have multiplied up here. I'm going to do it on this one. I'm going to multiply this by negative 2, multiply this by negative 2, and I get negative 4y minus 10 equals 3y minus 3. And I'm going to subtract 3y to get negative 7y. I'm going to add 10 to get 7, and y equals negative 1. That's it. That's how you do all 6 of those. Let me know if you got any questions.